just want to introduce Manuel Lucero, and as soon as you're ready, come on this way.
Do you have a place I can plug in over
What's
here?
that?
Yeah, up there.
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes?
Is it internet?
I don't need internet, I just need electricity.
Oh, yeah, there's a plug right behind here, and there's a table if you need it. And I won't be introducing him at this point, let you do it, we've just got about 10 minutes left, so, but some people can stay around a little longer. That's what I can hear.
First lesson is Indian time.
There you go.
My grandfather once said that white man's time will give you stomach problems. Yes, you walk with the sun. So I do that. That and my son had prom last night. And so he and some of his friends did not wish to hang out with the other kids at a party after the prom because we're doing nefarious things. So at 11 o'clock at night, I find myself right after crawling out of sweat lodge. If you've ever done that,
Yeah, I've heard of it.
it cooks your brain a little bit. I found myself picking these kids up and bringing them all back to my house, which had me going to bed about 3 in the morning. So I'm here. Had to drop one of them off on the very far side of Prescott, and so yeah, walk with the sun. So give me a few moments to plug in. Huh?
Take the mic.
Oh, sure. Can I finish talking?
No.
No? Took my land, now you want the microphone?
I'm a friend.
Yeah, here's a blanket, you know. Yeah, I like to joke and tease, so bear with me on that one. But yeah, give me a few minutes to set up, and then we'll get down to the nitty gritty. Want to do anything? Hot mic, hot mic. There we go.
So if we have any second service people and you've got to leave in about 10 minutes, feel free at about 5:02, you can take off, and if there's people that have to get to second service.
Or you can start late.
Or you can bring them all in. And
Walk
the second service is going to walk with the sun.
Oh, I know it doesn't. I try to stay away from this thing as much as possible. So it's nowhere to help. Well, Lord forbid I start on time, so talk amongst yourself. This computer thing's not gonna work for me, so we're just gonna get off the cuff. Let's go for it?
Yeah, for it.
It's for back here.
Have you done this before?
One time or two. Osio ni kata Manuel Lucero da Guadal Janaki ha Yeli Yumia I met him via what I said was hello, my name is Manuel. Wait a minute, that was a Gettysburg Address. What I said was hello everyone. My name is Manuel from Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. I'm the executive director at the Museum of Indigenous People and the acting chaplain at the Prescott Bucky O'Neill VFW Post 541. 8 years in the United States Army, 3 combat tours. Like many Native folks, we enlisted in the military at a higher rate than any other ethnic group in the country, any. And we're only 1% of the population. Everybody, Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen, do they even count?
Yes.
I got my Marine brother here, do they count? Yes, they do. Space Force, I don't know. I don't know, nobody knows what they do. But there is a young lady, Captain Star Eagle, and I'm like, wow, that's appropriate for Space Force. Star Eagle, yeah, that's her name. Wow, what a cool Indian name. Mine is Manuel Lucero. But she had one of those in there. Anywho, we enlisted at a higher rate than anyone else in the military. And those reasons vary. Whether they be, I need to get away from the reservation and all the problems, or I want to do this because my father did this, or my uncles did this, my grandfather did this, like many others. And in Indian country, that's pretty much the truth, no matter what family you come from, because we all do it. I had a fella in college when I was getting into activism, as an African-American brother, and he's like, man, how can you serve a country after they've done all these things to you, your people? And I said, well, we're still dealing with the last group of jerks that showed up to change the way we live. I'll be doggone if I'm gonna let another group of jerks show up and change the way we live. So I will fight to keep that from happening. And I think you got it after that, but we do that also in a contemporary way. It's a way to fulfill a lot of our warrior obligations in our culture. I can't go around counting tool on folks without going to jail. But I can do it in the Army, I can do it in the Marine Corps, I can do it in the Navy, Air Force, and so on. When we have those, our fruit salad, my Marine brother knows we talk about all those ribbons and stuff that a soldier or sailor, airman, Marine would wear. To us, that's an eagle feather. And eagle feathers are very special to us in a way that some folks may not understand. We think of it as a direct connection to the Great Spirit, to God. That is our antenna, if you will, coming off there. The reason why I don't look like maybe one of the Rice family over here on the reservation at Yavapai Prescott Indian Tribe, very light-skinned, clearly. But my mother is Irish, and my father is Native, which means I love to drink, but I can't handle it. I'm actually a Sundancer, so I am not allowed to imbibe alcohol while during this 4-year commitment that I'm in. Speaking of Sundance, does anybody know what the Sundance is? Okay, this seems like a crowd that knows movies from the genre. I know movies. A Man Called Horse. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
And that fella was pierced up and hung from a tree for 4 days, no food and water. I just come off the tree on Sunday, it was last night. That's why I was at Sweat Lodge last night. We had to finish the ceremony out. I have some big gnarly scars that are itching me right now underneath my vest. That dance is about sacrifice. And that connection, I guess, to the Creator. Material things in life, they come and go. Clothes, money, cars, houses, relationships. The only thing you really have is what God gave you, and what you got left when you go to meeting again. That's this stuff. That's it. So when we sacrifice our flesh, a lot like the man did on his tree for everyone else. And when we do that, we are never praying for ourselves. We always do it for everyone else. So with that prayer in mind, I know you're all here in church, you've probably been praying all morning. to say a prayer down, I would like for y'all to join me, pray in your own way. Some of my words will be in native tongue and then in English so that y'all understand what I'm talking about. So if you just give us a moment, we'll do that. Unless you got an eagle feather on your head, I'd ask you gentlemen to take hats off. Everybody, okay, good. There we go. What we like to cuss like grandfather Peter, and that good way we come to you today, gathering from many, many different tribes. Grandfather, I ask that you have your healing winds blow upon the people. Many people are suffering in a way from physical ailments, emotional ailments, mental ailments. I ask that you help them, to guide them. Grandfather, I ask that they have that wisdom, a vision to see the signs you give them, to put them in directions they need to go and to understand those signs. Grandfather, I ask that you continue to walk with us in that good way. Grandfather, I ask that you bless these people here today, and as they travel home, you bless everyone they will encounter. Grandfather, bless their homes when they walk in, and Grandfather, bless anyone who walks in and visits them as their homes. Grandfather, I ask that those blessings spread across their family and friends and everyone they love. With all those things, we thank you. That's ended for amen. You'll know my Oklahoma comes out every now and again. Well, this was going to be like an open-ended kind of conversation. Is there anything y'all are thinking about, questions?
Well, I have one.
Please.
You know, we have recently put in the acknowledgement of the Yavapai people owning the land before us, who were here in all of our services. And various places do this now. Is that helpful?
It is. It's a step. It's for some a first step. The thing is, there's a movement, particularly amongst activists in the country, called land back. And it means what it sounds like. But it doesn't mean we want y'all to get back on a boat and go to Europe somewhere. We, as human beings, understand that this medicine wheel is red, yellow, black, and white. Those are the colors of the human beings that inhabit our planet. And we understand that we all have to live here together and share this together. What land back means is we would like to have a say on the comings and goings on our own land. We would like to be treated fairly and with respect, and be part of the conversation anytime some of these decisions are made. And I'm going to give you an example right here in our own backyard here in Arizona of what's happening with that and how land back movement is important and how land acknowledgement is the first step in that. Because some people will say, well, if you're not going to give them their land back, stop saying the acknowledgement. No, keep saying it. But with Oak Flats, there's a treaty land that belongs to the Apache here in Arizona. Now, this is not a right-wing, left-wing, Republican, Democrat thing. This is the government. The government. Between the Clinton administration and the Bushes and the Obama and then Biden and Trump and back and forth, through all of those administrations, this deal was brokered over time. And what it is they took this Indian land that was set aside, treaty land that was set aside. Nobody's living on it. It is their sacred land for hunting and for ceremony. It's where they go have their swell lodges, where they go have their gong dances, and where they go have their sunrise ceremonies for the young ladies. It's also where they, pull some good deer out of there and get some good venison jerky, good backstrap. Those are hunting folks in here know what I'm talking about. Make my mouth water a little bit. The government basically leased this land out from underneath them to a foreign mining company. Not even an American company where we keep the money here for the people here. They sold it to an outfit out of Australia to strip mine copper you know, Arizona's thing, we copper state. I'm pretty doggone sure there's mining companies here that could have done a fine job. But they sold it to a bunch of foreigners. And it's just the slaps in the face that just don't stop with this whole thing. And you can think back to the Indian Wars, as they call them. If you ask me, they never ended. But where land was being taken away because, well, the Indians weren't doing anything with it, and they needed those resources, by golly. That's still happening right now, today, right now. And you're not hearing it on the news because they don't want you to know about it. Your average American hears about that going on, they're going to be upset, right? So they don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. It's happening right now in our own backyard. So when we say land back, that's what we mean. We want to say in the comings and goings of our own holdings, because that hasn't happened since Columbus got lost. That sounds different when you tell the story, doesn't it? Yeah. Did anybody tell me those 3 boats he came over here? Was it Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Right? We all know that. Who were the people he met? The Indians.
The Americans.
No, it was the Arawak and Taino people. Today you know them as Dominican and Puerto Rico. Right? That's where barbecue comes from, baby. Barbacoa. Barbecue ain't an English word. Right? Heck no. But barbecue, thanks, native people. You know what else? Who likes chocolate?
Who likes what?
Chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I know your little Swiss Miss packet got the blonde girl on it.
Yeah.
That is not where cacao bean comes from. That is indigenous to the Americas. The ancestors did not cut the bitterness of the cacao, the bitterness of chocolate. That's why you have that bittersweet about chocolate. With sugar. We didn't have sugar as you know what here we would use agave syrup or honey or what have you. We flavored and cut that bitterness with chili peppers. So what you had was hot chocolate. Get it? Now, chocolate, as we know, is a stimulant. That's why we do not give it to the youngsters before it's time to go to bed.
Oh,
So
yeah.
definitely give it to them before you send them back to their parents, right? Goodbye, payback. Chocolate is a stimulant. It's also, it makes the pleasure chemicals in your body go up, so it makes you happy. And it's also thought of as an aphrodisiac. And ladies, I'll let you in on a secret. That's why you get chocolate on Valentine's Day. We're trying to butter you up. Don't fall for it. Sorry, fellas. Sorry. I spoiled it for everyone. There are so many things that we say and do as Americans that we don't even think of that have roots in the first people here. And what makes us truly American. How about the word okay? Think about that's not an English word either. Okay? You okay? I'm okay. What that is a Choctaw word, and it's to end a trade agreement. Now, what you had was the oldest deep water port in the Americas is in Savannah, Georgia, in the southeastern woodlands. Now, that was the original home to the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Seminole, Cherokee people. And amongst those various tribes, we would trade with each other. The trade jargon that was used, the trade language, was the Choctaw jargon. So when we're exchanging things, oh, that's okay, yeah, I'm okay, well, that could be better, but this is okay, I'll hold you to this trade. So you had all of these sailors coming into port, tradesmen, from Portugal, from Spain, from England, from France, from from Norse countries, and they had to learn the trade language to trade with the natives there. So they picked up the word okay, just completed. And then they went to other ports and so on. You can go anywhere in the world today and use the word okay, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
Wow, oh my gosh.
How about chewing gum? That's right. When I was in the service and I was over in Germany, I had a girlfriend over there, and her grandfather used to call me Kau Boom Indianer.
What?
Don't chew an Indian.
Oh.
Because Americans, to them, were all Indians, and we chewed gum all the time. Because that's how they know us, we road chewing gum. That's not European things, that's American thing. They say that we either were chewing gum or we have Coca-Cola in our hands, always. But it's these things we do. If I ask you how much money you got in your pocket, and you told me I got 15 bucks, well, the buckskin was the basis of trade.
Oh my God.
Right?
Wow.
Are you watching old gangster movies? You watch an old gangster movie, an old black and white Cagney movies, you know. So what did it cost you? It cost me 50 clams. They're talking about wampum, or quahog shell. Wampum was used as a currency during colonial times, not by the natives. We saw the wampum shell as beautiful purple and white, and we would use them to make treaty belts, and it was very important and sacred to us. If someone was holding a string of wampum, you would know that they're speaking only the truth. So the early colonists saw how important it was to us, thought it was money, and would use it as currency more than they would use English coin, because English coin was hard to come by. So they used it more than we did. But we were fine with that, because we could just keep trading on that wampum shell for hatchets and all kinds of things that made our life easy. But these are truly and purely American things that we just do and say and don't even think about where they come from. There's some other ones too that are quite comical. Back during the colonial period, you also had Darwinism. You know, Darwin had found the Galapagos Islands and had this epiphany and wrote a book, a lot of inaccuracies, but, you know, was a basis for science of the day. It ended up with what they call eugenics, where, oh, this guy's nostrils an eighth of an inch bigger, he must be part monkey. No, that is not science, but that was kind of the basis of it. Anyway, that was the big thing. So you had all these naturalists going around and recording various species they would come across. So here's this English fellow who fancies himself a naturalist because he read that book. And he finds himself a Cherokee scout whose English ain't all that great. And of course this fellow ain't gonna bother traveling Cherokee. So he's going around in the Smoky Mountains where our people were originally from before Andrew Jackson, you know, told us up the river for the Trail of Tears. And he's walking around and they come across a blue jay. Now, if you're walking around, you see the blue jay, he'll make all this ruckus and whatnot, and act like he's wounded. He's warning all the other animals that trouble's coming. And two-leggeds are here again, and trouble. So he says, what do you call that bird there? Well, in Cherokee, Jishwa is bird. Jishwa. And Jeh is blue. So he goes, Jishwa Jeh. It's a blue bird. Okay. So this guy writes, blue Jack. Blue. Is that bird's name? The Yucatan Peninsula. Now this is great. The Yucatan Peninsula. So the Spaniards get there, they get off on their little boats. And, Senor, what do you call this place here? And the little Quiche speaking Mayan people were like, Yucatan, in Quiche, one of the Mayan dialects. That means, I don't know what you're saying. So that is the I don't know what you're saying peninsula. Europeans was doing it to each other too. Because down the road a ways, you go down 17, you'll come across table mesa. Well, mesa in Espanol, it's table. Table. So there's a whole lot of fun stuff going on as Americans that we got. But again, a lot of these contributions that we do, we actually have an exhibit because our country is 250 years old this year, the United States. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson got their concept of our current government and how it's set up originally from the Haudenosaunee people, the Iroquois, the Mohawks, the Oneidas, the Senecas, and then later on Tuscaroras and so on. And during the French and Indian War, a lot of meetings were had between the Iroquois and the colonists at the time. And of course, these meetings were to ensure that the Iroquois would not side with the French, and that they get a little more land from them. That was what the meetings was always to get a little more land. And at that time, one of the great chiefs came, and he's a great orator, and he recited the story that the great peacemaker had enacted and brought to the people about 600 years before Columbus got lost. And what it was is the great peacemaker came down because the Iroquois were warring amongst each other, killing each other. It was a horrible, horrible time. And so he comes to them and says, look, these other folks are about to show up here soon. And if y'all don't get it together, you're going to be in deep trouble, because they are going to wipe you out. And he said, this is how you do it. And he reached into his quiver and he pulled one arrow out. He held the one arrow up and he said, one arrow by itself is easily broken. And he snapped it. Then he took 5 arrows out, held them together, and he attempted to break them. Could not do it. Handed it to other men, and then attempted to break the 5 arrows. Could not do it. Representing the 5 tribes amongst the Iroquois Confederates at the time. Now there are more. He said, together, when you're together, you're strong. You cannot be defeated. Cannot be broken. So this, by then, contemporary Seneca, or Iroquois, Sachem, which is their word for chief, had, or executive commander-in-chief, had went to Jefferson and Franklin and demonstrated this story. And a lot of the other founding fathers were there present as well. Well, Franklin wrote about it and sent it out in his little papers and so on. By the time the revolution had started, a lot of these cats were on board with that. Because the system of government the Iroquois have to this day, which is the oldest standing democracy in the world. Oh yeah, and ladies, back in the day, only women voted.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
The reason for it is, men will always see a warrior aspect of another man. That's easy. Women saw that, that's easy. But they also got to see the gentle side and the giving side. This is the strong side. And a good leader needs to have both. So only the women voted. Plus, they sat around doing chores and talking all day. Men were out fishing and hunting and, you know, and a lot of themselves with that stuff. So, I mean, it sounds like a good thing to me. So these things were recited, and they had what they called faith keepers. Now, these were typically women, beloved women, we would say in Cherokee. But these were typically women, and they were elected through consensus, and they served for life. And their job was to execute judgment and carry out those punishments or goodwill, if necessary. That would be our judicial branch, the Supreme Court. Then you had these representatives from each tribe united under one long house. Then there was a big brother council and a little brother council. The little brother council, there were many more of them. And the big brother council was limited to electors from each tribe only, and then there were little bands and so on. So that was the little brother council, and there had a lot more of them. So you had your senate in your house. and I made it up to Congress. Do you know what we call a group of baboons? Baboons? Well, it's called the Congress. Which is chef's kiss. And in School of Fish, Lacasitos, Congress of Baboons. I love language, it's great. But this was the basis for our government. And so they took that and ran with it. Anybody got a dollar bill? I'm not gonna ask you to put it in the tray or nothing, does anyone?
There's in a collection there.
Yeah, it's in the collection plate. $1 bill with George Washington on it. Because I'm gonna prove something to you. Because somebody told me that was hogwash the other day. Look at the seal of the United States, that eagle.
What did you do with the collection?
That means our palm has the 13 arrows, 13 wooden columns bound together in his hand, just like the reception that he did for the earthquake.
Yeah.
That's how intertwined we are as Americans. It's on the basis of our buck. Right? So it's right there. All right, thanks, Ron. Indian giver. Okay. So it's pretty amazing. At the museum right now, from that 250, the American 250 celebration, we do have that, they call contributions. And you can go in there and you can see so many. And you can go in there today, or, well, we're closed on Sunday because everybody's in church. You can go hang on that. But go in there on Monday and you can see the exhibit, and then you go in there next month, there will be more. And then you go in there the following, there will be more, and we're going to run it all the way through July. And the concept behind that is we're continuing to give and contribute. One of the walls that we have in there has a lot of notable natives, as we put it. So these are native people that not only might be in the public eye famously, but they also give to the community. There is a word in the Cherokee language that doesn't really have a direct English translation. It's called Cherokee. And when I first heard that word, my grandfather when he put his hat on, because he's from old school, when he put his hat on, he knew Grandpa was going to town. Right? So he put his hat on, and my brother and I, Grandpa, where are you going? Because we want to get a ride, maybe get ice cream from the thrifty store or something. And he said, well, I'm going into town with this little Gatuji. Grandpa's making up funny words again. Of course, he speaks Cherokee. And Gatuji means when people in the community come together to help someone, it means help. He was going to a local food bank and volunteering. That was his Gatuji. But on top of that, he would round up these brown paper bags full of groceries, and he'd take them out to elders that live way out in the rural areas. And he'd spend his own gas money doing it. But that was his Gatuji. And Cherokee people, we believe that if you don't live Gatuji, that you are not a good human. You're not a good human. If you're not giving something back to the people in the community in which you live in, you're not being a good human. Many of us volunteer and it feels good. That's why we do it. We certainly ain't getting paid. Right? But Gatuji isn't just volunteering, it's a way to live your life. And it's thought of in a very different way. To where you're not a complete person if you're not helping someone else. You're being selfish if you're not helping someone else. It's all about community. And as a matter of fact, most native languages, there's no word for I or me. There's only we and us. Because you should always be thinking about everyone else. So when we have our Sundance here, each one of them is for a different, sorry, native people, we don't do linear stuff. Everything is cyclical. So it'll always come back to something else I've said. They're itching on me. When we have our Sundance, I'm going to get emotional, I'm sorry, it's already happened. Every one of these Sundances that we do has a different reason for that prayer, for that sacrifice. The one that friend of mine, Stephen Blue Horse, runs in New Mexico is for veterans, particularly veteran suicide and addiction and things like that, mental health. This one that we do is for the children. All of the evils that are committed to children and adults, all of them. Whether it be wars, as one's going on right now, or all those other disgusting things I won't even mention. I suffer with no food, no water, not even allowed to touch water much less drink it. I'm pierced with a bone about the size of my pinky through each one of my chests, my pectorals, and hung from that tree for 4 days until it breaks. And the more I suffer, the stronger that prayer is. Concept behind it being, if I can take that pain, there is a little child out there that does not have to feel that for that day. Because my God, what's going on? This is year 3, and I'll do it again next year. And probably again and again until I can't anymore. I'm in my 50s now, so that probably won't be long. That's it. I'm out there doing it with 20-year-old guys, and I'm telling you, their feet are still moving a lot faster than mine on day 4. Yeah, that's where it differs from the movie Man Called Horse. They were doing like some kind of bravery thing or showing you're a man. If you're there for that, they'll ask you to leave. That ain't what it's for. But anyhow, I in no way would ever compare myself to Joshua, to that man who gave his own life for everyone. Powerful healer he was, Son of God, ever. But the thought process is the same. I should have given you all warning. When I do talks, we should have Kleenex.
Yeah.
Lots of it. And one for me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make y'all tear up. I did take pleasure one time in making folks cry. I'm gonna be honest with you, I did. It's when we were at a city council meeting and they wanted to do this America 250 thing because over there in Prescott when they brought the Liberty Bell and all that. Well, we had councilmen and women sitting there listening to our ideas. And I waited for everyone else to tell all their ideas. And Charlotte Hall guy seemed to butt in and have a half-hour speech about everything. So I just waited, being all Indian about it, quiet and still for him. And one of the city managers told me, he goes, Manuel, what does the museum have planned? And I started talking about this contributions thing. What nobody knew in there is I made that up right there on the spot. Because I had a whole other idea for an exhibit to come up. But I wasn't going to let none of these guys outdo me. My goodness, no way, Jose. So I began to talk about the Founding Fathers in Iroquois, and I talked about, hey, how were those colonial patriots dressed when they threw the tea in the harbor? They were dressed like Indians. Yeah. I talked about all those things, and I talked about when Thomas Jefferson was president in St. Louis Clark across the continent with, thank goodness, Sacagawea. That would have been a short trip. And he addressed the Eastern Coast Indian nations, including my own people. And he had several of these speeches. The words were different each one, but the gist was the same, and it was, your blood will mix with ours, and we will spread across this continent, creating a great nation. And I went on and on, and then I mentioned I, personally, am a direct result of that prophetic speech that the president gave. And I had city councilmen in there in tears. And I was like, wow! That's the only time I was happy that I made somebody cry. I think there were tears of joy or guilt. I don't know, but I was happy with it because I'm a politician, right?
Yeah.
It was heartfelt. even though I just made it right there, I was like, oh, this is happening. And we got on it, and the exhibit is really cool, so come check it out. Y'all remember where that museum come from? Well, we used to wear another name.
Smoke Eye.
That's the one. How many of y'all are affiliated with Smoke Eye?
Affiliated?
Yeah, have family members, or maybe dance with Snake in Mouth, or have the dot tattoos.
The dots.
Yeah.
I thought you meant, have we been there? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, okay, have you seen a show? You haven't seen one of their shows? Yeah, a lot of folks have. You know, in 1921, the world's oldest rodeo, which is this area's claim to fame, this is how we get tourists in here, this is how we make some money. It was in dire straits financially. And these folks, these business folks in town over there, on the side of the hill, they were doing black minstrel shows at the Elks Theater to raise money for the rodeo. Yeah, that was not cool. But they was doing it. It was 1921. And that wasn't making enough money. So one of them once, when he was 15, once saw a Hopi snake dance. Once. And said, hey fellas, we all got the cowboys, let's go on ahead and get some Indians going. But instead of engaging the local Yahweh, or anyone else, they decided to dress up and put on a show. They did. They're quite successful. Then you had these ladies that got involved to help them out. And I would always say in tourism, I think Prescott has more of a founding mothers thing going on than a founding fathers thing. Because you had a lady by the name of Miss Charlotte Hall.
Yes.
Well, she was a historian and poet, and she wrote this phony baloney backstory about this tribe. Right? Out of the mist of the August, moon, came these smoky people, blah, blah, blah. And then you had a lady by the name of Grace Sparks, who the old armory over there is named after now. It's a community center, basketball courts, and all that good stuff. She was the immigration officer. Now, nowadays, immigration officer stands at the wall with the rifle and says, don't come here. But back then, your immigration officer wanted people to come in so they could build the town up. So her job was to promote the heck out of these guys, and she did. She had them marching in parades in Phoenix, she had them in parades in Los Angeles, was it Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, whatever that is, parade, Rose Bowl, parade. And then the one in Philadelphia on the 4th of July. I mean, these guys got pretty infamous, as it were. So she promoted the heck out of them. And then they had another gal named Kate Corey. Kate Corey was a classically trained artist from Waukegan, Illinois. And she comes from good money. But, back then women didn't get real degrees. So you could do sociology, or that's about as science-y as you could get. Or art, right? But she was a classically trained artist, and she was visiting some friends in San Francisco, as very well-to-do folks did back in the day, in the late 1800s. And she heard about this artist colony in Winslow. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go join that artist colony. I mean, this gal was way ahead of her time. If it was socially allowed, she'd be wearing the bridges in the relationship like this. So she gets on a train with all of her arts equipment and her photography stuff. And she gets off the train in Winslow. And it wasn't an artist colony. It was Winslow in 1890. There wasn't nothing. There was a library with nobody running it. So she checked herself into it and spent the night. And when she got up in the morning, the stable library owner coming in from Flagstaff with his car full of supplies. So she rented a horse and a buggy or a wagon, filled it up with all of her stuff, and just started riding north. She ended up living with the Hopi for 7 years.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
She learned the language, started writing a dictionary. She photographed and painted and drew everything she saw. She got integrated into their culture so much that she was allowed to become a member of, or allowed in to some of the men's societies there. that tells you a little something about Miss Corey. A lot of Native people see folks as two-spirit. And two-spirit folks are regarded in a high way because they have the ability to have both a feminine mind and a masculine mind at the same time. They can go, matter of fact, a two-spirit is the one that goes selects our tree that we hang for. Because guys are going to want a really big one. Well, I don't want to carry that. We have to humanly carry this thing in. And maybe a lady one might just get a small dainty one that we all actually break the tree before we break us. So the two-spirit goes and selects the tree because they have the balance. So they've had important roles in our societies. So she seems in a good way. So she loved it there because she couldn't be that way in the rest of society. She ended up doing something that the clan mothers, again, only the women ran things in matrilineal societies, didn't like. And so she moved to Prescott. And she helped the Smoke Eye with their costumes and their dances and a lot of things. So those three women helped them have a little bit more, and I'm using big finger quotes, authenticity. Because these guys were taking a 4-day ceremony like that snake dance and turning it into a 45-minute show. So how much authenticity do you really have? So fast forward to my wife and I moving out here. I'm unloading the moving truck, and I had set up her little desk and her computer and little chair and whatnot on her insistence, of course. First, so she could do what she needed to do, while I was, with the hand truck and the bags and the boxes and putting up the king-size bed and thing and so on and so forth. And she's just clicking away with her mouse and her keyboard, and in my head, of course, I would never say it out loud, I'm not that dumb. Do something useful, honey. So you know what? Let's you want to look up the local tribes here. We'll see who's here in the community. My wife is Yaqui and Kaiwa, by the way. And let's see, where do we go to sweat lodge? Where are the powwows at? Where can we go court dance? Do they even court dance out here? What else is going on? That way we can just have a sense of community. So she's like, oh, okay, and she's clicking away, and I think by that time I was actually setting the bed up. And she goes, did you ever hear of these Smoky Indians? I said, Smoky. I'm thinking of all 578 at that time, now there's 75. 3 were terminated in Maine, 4 were terminated, and then the Lumpies just got federal recognition. Anyhow, there ain't no Smoky in there. I said, no, never heard of that. She's like, well, come here and look at this. And she pulls this grainy black and white picture, and it's kind of stretched out, to fit the screen or whatever. And I thought, wow, something's off. Yeah, I see their costumes, as it were. And being so grainy, there wasn't a lot of definition, so I couldn't see detail, really. But, well, they look like Pueblo people, but they're really tall and thin. Most Pueblo folks, if you know them, are what we say in Indian country is brown, round, and low to the ground. These folks were none of that. And I thought, well, maybe it's the distortion in the photo, and so, whatever, I got a bed to put together. So she starts laughing, and she's, come here and look at this, oh my gosh, look at this. So I go back down the hall through the kitchen, in the living room, I say, yes, dear. And she's got a side-by-side picture of these 2 farmers in their overalls, smoking pipe, devil hat on, pants from the breeches tucked down in their boots, and there's probably some more pucky on there and everything else that you can see. Very definitive black and white photo. And right next to them, standing there, are these 2 Indians. She goes, these are the same people. I said, what? She goes, like the Boy Scouts, they dress up and they put on a show, and they have a museum in Prescott and everything. They're actually called Smoke Eye. And I was like, well, we're never going there. Now I'm the director. But we used to have dinners for these guys because they dissolved in 1990 was their last dance. There's a real slap in the face to Native people what they were doing because until 1978 with the American Indian Religious Freedoms Act, it was against the law for us to pray, talk to God the way our grandfathers did. This is not, that's a long time ago, you need to get over that. No, this is living memory for me. I was knee-high to a grasshopper when that was going on. I remember driving up to the hills in Oklahoma, we were going to a picnic. Or some gathering, and the drugs would be going. My dad would park his Oldsmobile and get the cedar box out, and we'd have rattles or the turtle shells for the ladies, or whatever. We'd go out and eagle feathers, whatever. We'd go out and dance on someone's property out there, or those stomp grounds, but you hid. My children are the first generation to not have to hide to do what we do. So with Native folks, you take the Constitution, we, the people, foreign concept to anybody who grew up under a king or queen. Yeah, that's Indian too. We, the people, sounds like it from a really bad Western. Roll it real tight and stick with the sun don't shine because it did not apply to us. Although we fought for it in every war. Still do. So, the Smoke Guy not only were doing this in 1921 on, but they were selling tickets at the gate to watch a show, baby. And the difference is, well, we know. So, a lot of Native folks were upset with them. Of course, you had Native folks that said, we don't care. People are people, they're all going to have different opinions. There's no getting around that, there's no shaking that. Folks are folks. They always will be. But a majority of Native folks were not happy. And I remember doing these dinners for some of these smoke guys, and I used to just grit my teeth. And I would open the museum up. This is when I was the assistant director. I'd open the museum up because I wasn't in charge. That changed with the day I got promoted, I'll tell you. But I opened the museum up, and I would let them go in and see everything. Well, what happened to our masks? What did you take them down for? They were fake. This is a museum. This is an institution of learning. You don't present false narratives to teach people something. You can watch public news if you want to do that. This is the real McCoy, and we will show you the real McCoy. Good, bad, or ugly. We will show it to you. When you're trying to have folks form opinions, we're just giving you factual information. And you can't do that with fake, well, theatrical stuff. Usually it just can't happen. And I had one lady and her husband tell me to my face that, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have any dances anymore. And then the husband started going like this and doing whatever that was. And I thought, lady, I've been doing my stuff my whole life and I ain't never even heard of you. Yeah. But I watched some of their films and I swear to you, these folks look like they need a can of WD-40. Listen to all them joints and rusted bolts and everything they got. And maybe purchase some rhythm somewhere. That would really help them. One of the dances that I saw that stuck out in my memory, because I specifically selected it and put it through that old reel-to-reel projector and watched it, was a tail dance. And I know this dance because it's ours. It's one I do to this day. It's one of my children. My father taught me to do this. His father taught me to do this. And I'm watching it and I thought, what the heck? Their outfits, their costume, as it were, was mine ain't a costume. Mine was traditional regalia with my traditional outfit. But their costumes were off. It was wrong, completely wrong. And their song was not the correct song for that dance. And of course, again, the WD-40. And I'm like, what's going on? So I actually pulled up a book. This is a year or so later after watching that film. I pulled a book from, it was from the 1800s, late 1800s, from the Bureau of Ethnology library, which we have in our library museum. I opened it up and it showed, I looked tail dance because I wanted to see what they wrote about my stuff. You know, like my stuff. And there was a picture of a Choctaw wearing this horsetail for a lacrosse game, because yeah, that's our sport too, we admit that. It's all played by rich white kids in Ivy League schools, so I don't know. But anyhow, he's in his lacrosse uniform, as it were. In the old days, we use a deer tail, right? And then on one team, the other team would use the tail of an eagle or a fan, you know, tail. So you have the flyers and the four-leggeds, and that goes back to a very, very ancient story, which I will share with you. And a little later on, we started using other materials, so we had horsehair hanging off of this thing that came out, and it looked like a big old tail. So the illustration was matched to the wrong article in the encyclopedia, and that's where they got their mistake.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, that's awesome. I'm so telling every one of these jokers in the next dinner, because they were very proud of their authenticity. But you can't be very authentic if you're getting your information second and third hand from someone who doesn't participate in that culture. So that's been my experience with them. I've made really good friends with some of them. Some of them are very supportive of the changes we've made. Might not have been totally okay with the fact to change the name, but when I get any flack from folks, and usually it's on Facebook, some keyboard warrior, you know, upset about this, that, are you stealing my history? And I said, no, you stole mine, and now we take it back. Call me Indian giver if you want, I'll own that one. But then I'll ask him, well, when was the last time you came to the museum to volunteer? When was the last time you sent us $20 to help us keep the lights on? Crickets. Yeah, that's what I thought. You just want to talk. All right. But what I do is I tell this story. So a long time ago, there was a little boy. His name was Slow. He was slower than all the other boys running foot races and whatnot. He was slow that anything his aunties or his mother or grandmother would ask him to do, or his uncle's father asked him, he was slow. That was his name, Slow. But when he come of age, in many cultures, and here in North America, natives, indigenous peoples, when you come of age, you become a warrior, or whatever you become the human being you're meant to become. You become an adult. You get a new name. You know this little boy as Chief Sitting Bull. Very different. So what I say is the Smoke Eye Museum eventually became what it was meant to become. And when it did, it got a new name. And your name tells you who you truly are. So we were a museum of indigenous people. Some of the flack we got with that was, I can't even spell indigenous. I'm like, that's a you problem. That you should read more than one book. And probably didn't even read that one. But that is where we're at, and that was the direction we were going. So would y'all like to hear the story? So about lacrosse, yeah. So stickball, or lacrosse. In Cherokee we call it the little brother to war, because we would use this game to settle differences between clans, between tribes. Matter of fact, factually speaking, there was this area, a large meadow clearing in the eastern woodlands back there, that bordered between the Cherokee Nation and the Choctaw Nation. Yeah, this stuff on my hands, you said, I picked, that's a souvenir from the war. Yeah. Yeah. I know it's gross. Don't look at it. But there was this area there, and it was just covered in arrowheads for thousands of years. arrowheads in every strata and layer, geographically speaking, archaeologically speaking. The anthropologists, well, archaeologists and ethnologists of the day are saying, it's where great battles took place, and there's great battles, and they were all fighting. But if you ask the Cherokee and Choctaw, it's like, no, that's our hunting ground, and we used to switch off back and forth. That's why you use like Choctaw arrows, heads, and Cherokee arrowheads. And we would decide who got to use the hunting ground that year by playing lacrosse. You mean nobody killed each other over that land? What a concept. Well, we the savages, right? So, a long time ago, when the animals still chose to speak with us, before us as human beings, we screwed it all up because, well, we suck. We're awful, awful neighbors. The animals don't want to talk to us no more, so they don't. But the four-leggeds and the flyers, they're going back and forth. Who was better? Who was better as an animal? Who was a tougher? Who ruled everything? Well, the flyers said, well, we rule the skies, and we have dominion over everything. Four-leggeds like, come fly down here, I'll eat you. We got dominion down here. And back and forth, back and forth. So they said, hey, let's settle it. Let's have this again. Yes, sir.
What about the swimmers?
Oh, they ain't worried about no flyers with four-leggeds because they're everybody's meal. They ain't trying to talk to none of them. Eagle will eat a fish, bear will eat a fish, and we will eat a fish. So they ain't trying to talk to us. So anyhow, these two are going back and forth. They said, let's have that stickball game. Let's play lacrosse and find out once and for all who's the best. So the team captain for the four-leggeds is deer, very noble, very swift, very intelligent, and very giving. Matter of fact, that's our main staple in our diet. So we know him as being very giving. So he's the leader. And he's choosing his team. Of course, he picks Yona, the bear, right? Then he picks Panther, the mountain lion. And then, beaver. That guy works so hard, he never suffered. I want him to be the goalie. He's picking. And the whole time, little bitty mouse, little bitty field mouse. I want to play. I want to play too. I want to play. Can I play? Bear says, get out of here before I eat you. You're too small. Deer says, yeah, if we don't need you, you're too small. Go on from here now. All dejected, and little mouse makes his way into the tree line. He goes, and he's walking along. Eventually he comes across a big, tall pine. And on top of it, the eagle is resting there. And he's picking his teams because he's the captain of his. And he picks Sully, the buzzard. That guy can fly for hours and never get tired. I mean, you see him there, just going, never get tired. See, I want him. The owl can see really good at some of these games. Go like, you got owl on there. The hawk, and swift, and the falcon, and he's bringing them all in. And Little Mouse says, I'd like to play. Can I play on your team? He goes, aren't you in the wrong part of the forester to be picking teams? I said, well, they don't want me to. I said, well, I don't know. We're kind of got our team full already, and you're kind of small. While Layla, the hummingbird, speaks up. She says, I'm the fastest flyer here. None of you can dispute that. Everybody's like, oh. I mean, you ever see those hummingbirds? They're aggressive, fighting over the flower things you hang up the Kool-Aid in it. They're aggressive. And she was about that. And everybody back, she's right. We do not judge her by her size. She is the fastest. He says, all right, y'all get together, fasten him some wings. Since our team is full, if someone gets hurt, you should come in. Mouse is happy. He just wants to be on the team. So, game starts, and it's they go back and forth. First, the four-legged score, then then the flags, then the forelegs, the flags, and forelegs, the flag, and back and forth, back and forth. Now lacrosse is actually a really brutal game. In our way of playing, we'll knock each other in the head with some sticks, and we ain't wearing helmets. Matter of fact, we're wearing nothing but a loincloth and that tail to tell which team you're on. Because one tail is a deer tail and one is a fan, turkey or eagle. And we still hold those traditional games every year too, on our national holiday. But anyway, it's back and forth, close game. And just as the sun started to go down, the little wren gets hurt. Well, the wren is hurt, he can't fly no more. So he's off to the side. Eagle says, bring that mouse in here. So here comes the mouse. And he jumps, boom, and he gets airborne. And he starts fluttering around, and he don't know how to fly very good, so he's rolling over the place like that. Well, he finally gets the hang of it, gets a hold of the ball, and he's going. And the bear stands up, to stop him and scare him. Right to the bear's legs he goes. All that strength, that was for nothing. And here comes the mountain lion come after him. He spun around that path so many times, the mountain lion had run him down the field the wrong direction. He gets past the fox and all his wittiness, and past the beaver and all his steadfast work, and boom! He scores a goal and wins the game. And that's how the bat got his wings. My grandma told us that story when me and my cousins were out playing res ball or jungle ball or ghetto ball, whatever you want to call it. You grew up playing basketball. And we had an old bicycle wheel where we took all the spokes out, nailed it to a piece of plywood, and stuck it on a tree. That was our basketball court. And we were out there picking teams. And of course, Grandma, she watching out the window at everybody. Somebody's always got their eye on the kids. And we're picking teams, and we ain't picking the little ones. It's basketball, all the tall kids. And my grandmother come out and gave us the business. And she told us that story. Now, we didn't get scolded or had any corporal punishment or anything like that. That came later. It was some picking switches off trees, so don't trust me. But there was always a story. And you didn't always get it right away. Sometimes later on that night, you lay in bed and you're like, oh my gosh, she's talking about me. But she told that story, and she told us too. She said, now you be careful who you don't pick for your team, because they might go another team and come back and kick your butt. Just like that mouse. But yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. She's gone now. And we think she was 102 when she passed away, when she crossed the river. We don't know if she was born in Indian Territory. There was no doctors, there was no hospitals, there was none of that. But she told stories about when the Americans was coming into Indian Territory, which now is the state of Oklahoma, and that when she was real little, she'd go with her father and her brothers and one of her uncles, and they go out in the middle of the night shopping for cows. Grandma, that's cow rustling. But that's how they didn't have nothing. And then here comes his wife, all these cattle, and they're like, I'll have some. So they took them. But yeah. Y'all want to hear another story?
We also got to let people go if they can't sit in the chairs any longer.
Oh yeah, if your butt's getting numb.
But if you feel like hanging around, feel free. But if you need to get moving and go into a deadline, go ahead.
Again, walk with the sun. Don't get stomach trouble. And don't let your butt hurt you. I do appreciate y'all joining us though. Yes, ma'am.
Have you moved all of the white Indians from the indigenous?
I'm a white Indian.
No.
You mean
You're pink.
the spunk guy?
You're pink. I'm Irish, you're pink.
Have we removed those? No, we will always tell that story, and we will always be the repository for them.
Okay.
That happened. We ain't trying to hide it. It's the truth. But we will show it in that light, not putting you on a pedestal. You don't stop talking about the Klan. You don't stop talking about Hitler, because that happened.
Yeah.
And we don't want it to ever happen again.
Yeah.
Amen?
That's right.
Cool.
Well, why couldn't we get the American political team at the time to incorporate the importance of women? Because in the indigenous world, women are the power.
Yeah, you were Grandma says.
Yeah.
There was no offense, but,
He's quite a talker.
if you have control, why would you relinquish that? Especially when that control is so fragile. We see it in the systemic problems that we have today.
Yeah.
We see it historically in the fragility of failed empires. And it was no different then. And in order to maintain that control, you must keep the controlled population ignorant and under your boot. Where we didn't have that. As a matter of fact, if a Cherokee man is getting beat by his wife with a stick, the only thing he can do is roll over onto the side when you can't take it no more and get the other side beat. Because as a man, you move out of your mother's home and you go and live with your wife and her family. And everybody in her clan, blood related or not, are her brothers and sisters. So if you jump up and get funky with it, her brothers are going to beat you down. And you are not going to be a happy camper. In our culture, if a Cherokee woman wants to divorce her husband, all she does is put his rifle and his boots out on the porch. And when he comes back, he's like, well, that's over, picks his stuff up and walks back to his mama's house. Because the mother or the woman owns the home, they and the children. There's also an old Cherokee saying that I heard is kind of bad, but it's a thing. There's no question who your mother is. It's your father would be the question. So in a patrilineal society or patriarchal society, chastity belts were a thing. Because you couldn't guarantee. So again, the fragility, that's all. And and it wasn't even just being a dude, it was being a white dude that owned land. So there's multiple layers of fragility going on there. Yeah. And, yes sir, yes sir.
I had a question. We were at the Indigenous Museum maybe a month ago, and we met a fellow there that had some kind of to do with it. He said they're going to tear down some of the buildings, put a big glass building up. Is that
Glass?
to that?
He's had a mistake about that. I don't know if he's smoking some of that stuff they grow over there in Chino Valley.
Nothing to that. But I said, why would they tear down these beautiful buildings and put some fancy thing up?
Oh God, no. Ooh, that made my heart hurt a little bit. Those two big buildings that are made of stone,
Yeah.
and then there's one in the middle with a big medicine wheel on it. You see the,
Yeah.
it's all made of it. It's in the helipad type of thing. The one in the middle was built in the 1960s to be the Smoke-Eye people's costume storage and creation place. There is not a right angle in that doggone thing. Not one. The electricity to my office in there is ran vis-a-vis orange extension cord that they buried in the wall. When it rains, the fluorescent light over my desk comes on. Light switch, she doggone. But when it rains, I have light. I'm pretty sure that ain't safe. I'm not an electrical engineer, but that just don't sound good to me. Much less, even when it comes on, I'm like, oh, smoke break time. Yeah, no, it's, those two buildings that are stone and look like ancient Pueblo dwellings, they are on the historical registry and cannot be destroyed. I just spent $300,000 tuck pointing, replacing roofs, replacing windows, and doing interior restoration on those beautiful buildings.
Good.
I spent every stinking penny too, begging. And I was begging and pleading and this close to selling myself to make that happen too, because those contractors were expensive. They were expensive. Thank goodness for tax write-offs, I tell you. That would not have happened. But no, those are staying. But that rickety fire hazard that's in the middle, that's gonna go. So what it is, it'll be a 2-story structure because we have a granite shelf that's in there and it does this, right where that heel pad's at, and then drops again to the street level. We don't have any decent ADA access. You have to drive around, just the one way and all that, and backside, and come in and make it through what we kind of set up, a little ramp made of plywood so that folks in a wheelchair can get in, through the back. That needs to go away. So we will have ADA access from the street. It'll come in and it'll be like a welcome center, where our little gift shop and everything there. We'll have exhibits all through there, bigger meeting space, classroom space, so that we can work with the Native kids. You gotta think here in the greater Quad Cities area, there are over 3,500 people of Native American heritage. Well, less than 400 are Yavapai. So, where's the community space? The one I was asking my wife to Google live with for. That's something needed. These kids are away from home, the reservation, because mom and dad need a job. They ain't no jobs on the res. You gotta move out and live like everybody else, and pay the taxes, and do the things. Yes, we pay taxes, and we do not get free gas. They are really expensive for you. But we need a place like that, so we can make one. And it will have stone accents on it to come together to build it. It will not be an eyesore. Yes, ma'am.
So I know that they had schools that they brought the indigenous children here. They also had them in Canada. I don't remember if they had any in the East Coast.
Yes, they did.
They did, okay.
So I'm sharing a story with you because I do that. When my grandfather was 6 years old, he was taken from his home in what is now Prior Creek, Oklahoma. It was Prior Creek Indian Territory, Cherokee Nation. They hauled him off to Haskell, Kansas, to the Haskell Indian School. When he was 9, he ran away from there by himself all the way back to Prior Creek. Never learned to write his name in English. But because my grandfather did that, I wish he'd done it. I know who I am, and I can speak the language. I know the lessons. I know all those things. But to all those kids that didn't, like my grandmother that he married, she had to teach him to sign his name so he could sign their marriage certificate. She was going to get him. she had him snagged up. But yeah, that was the thing. They were taken and they were hauled off, and just they're all over the East Coast. A lot of them were industrial schools because, the industry was booming. You get free labor that way. That's why you had the pictures of those young Indian men walking around with no boots on, no shoes on the high-rise buildings, the iron workers. Oh, because they weren't afraid of heights. How it is. But I guess it's what as a paratrooper, I don't know, today. Oh, he's not afraid of nothing, get in parachute. Yeah, they were everywhere.
Okay.
And these are the only schools, the ones in Canada, the ones here, the only children's schools that have their own cemeteries. Yeah, think of that. A school has a cemetery. Yeah. They were doing God knows what to him. So at 9, he said, bye. I tried to get some things from Haskell Indian School's museum there. I wrote to them requesting some of these items, and they wouldn't turn over just one pair for me to use, so I used a picture of the particular exhibit we were showing. But they are solid iron, heavy, handcuffs about that big, you know, for children.
We celebrate the Orange Shirt Day here in October
Outstanding.
for that reason.
Right on. That makes me feel good. I got a few orange shirts.
The orange shirts for Georgia foreign,
Yes.
Irish,
Yeah, the Irish schools were the same way.
yeah.
And yeah, mainly, yes. Mainly Catholic schools, yes, mainly. But the others as well. I think we're starting to dwindle out, and we're getting high noon, that's my hour marker. Is there anything else y'all want to know about? Everything?
I just had one question.
Yes, sir.
When you said two-spirit, would that?
That's the alphabet mafia. LGBTQ plus, yes,
Yeah, I just wondered if that was the same in your culture.
yes. A lot of the really weird misconceptions and misunderstandings and all of the misses that would go along between early European colonists and colonizers and indigenous folks here, and this happened with tribes in Africa as well, was the total lack of understanding and trying to compare other people to your own norms and call that strange. But they had asked for a delegate, a princess, to come and meet in the court of the king or queen, and this was in France, I believe. And so this two-spirit went over there, and she, of course, was completely intact and was beautiful, as many of them are. And so she gets assigned all of these handmaidens to dress her. And they figured that out real quick. It was plain to see. So they thought, well, the men are women and the women are men, and they're so weird and they're alien and they're not really human. We don't have to treat them as such. You know, compile that with the papal bull of the doctrine of discovery, where anyone who is, and these is the verbiage, and they're normally divergent. And what that means is you are not a Christian, a born Christian. You're a free game. You're not a human. Which is just insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you have more than two sexes that the indigenous recognize more than just two?
Correct. The genders.
Yeah.
The Hopi in particular have 5. Cherokee, I believe, we have 5 as well. I've never really thought to put a number to it. It's he who chooses to live as a woman, she who chooses to live as a man. Then there's something that can do both all the time. In the Lakota way, you can be a straight man and have what you call your 5th wife, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th wife, even though you might only have one other one. But this is someone that you could have relations with without worrying about procreating.
Yeah.
And make this, okay. This person will also go out to battle with you. So they're cooking, they're doing the medic, they're the doctor, because they're also medicine people, just their folks. And they're always the best dressed.
Yeah, they are.
Always the best dressed. And they will typically go out into battle first because they look the best. And to put the psychological terror on your enemy, you're going to send the best looking cat out there. And you always dress your best for battle. Because you might meet God today. You want to look good.
Yeah.
You know, you want to look good when you do it. You might meet God today. So that's where you hear the saying, today is a good day to die.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm looking good. Right? I'm ready. Let's go. But yeah, I never really put a number to it. I never thought about it. I had an uncle that was sometimes my aunt. And when Teal was Goldie, I'll tell you the straight man in here, he picked you up. Woo! But there was a lot of colonial thought process that had seeped into culture today, where you have Native folks who believe what they're taught by the colonists. Even in our traditional ceremonies, we hear it too. Men need to be wearing pants and the women need to be wearing skirts, even though I'm hanging from a tree with a skirt that goes down to my ankles. All man, all day.
They hadn't heard of the Scots, huh?
Oh, with weak hills. It's funny you mentioned the Scots. Scotch and Irish is where it's at, and I own one myself.
Yeah, they're fierce warriors.
Oh yeah. I have a lot of kinship with Native people. As a matter of fact, most of the Cherokee Nation has some sort of Scottish heritage with it. We got along great, very dark senses of humor that match. What else did you play in it? And
Our quilts are short.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I never thought for another two. That's. I guess that's the thing. It's like it's not something that we thought about. That I mean, to judge like that, to how many do we have?
I was
Not even a
told that
concept.
there's several indigenous that have more than 5.
And, yeah, I know for sure the Hopi do, because I've had Hopi folks tell me, various clans, tell me that there are 5 different. I don't know, oh, okay. I'd like to think of human beings as being human until they prove me otherwise. Because there's a lot of monsters that wear masks.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you
well
very
done.
much.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank you so much.
There were these 20 star systems that had planets going around them, exoplanets, that the James Webb Telescope, this new hot stuff up there in space, was going to be looking at this particular section of space. And they have names like GJ436b, which sounds so wonderful and roll off the tongue so eloquently. They, instead of naming these things Greco-Roman or Arabic names like most of the heavenly bodies we know scientifically do today, they said, hey, let's ask indigenous people around the world what their stories are for stars, so that we can mix it up a little bit. So, it's around September of 21, and I'm working on the powwow. I'm like 2 weeks out, I'm ordering porta potties, I'm doing all the logistical crap. That goes along with putting on a big event. And these 2 fellows come in. One of them I had done podcasts with, so I knew him. The other one I didn't know him at the time. He's wearing a blue polo shirt with NASA embroidered on it. And I thought, oh, wow. And then I thought, yeah, get the second hand, so whatever, I'm busy. And they come to the office and they're like, man, can I help you? Oh, Manny, we got a question for you. I'm like, okay, what? All the science people are doing this and the things, and they wanted to introduce names, and I said, okay, well, the word for sun in Hopi is tawa. The word for star in Cherokee is nopisi. Like, what do you want? They're like, oh, that's awesome. Come to this thing on this day. And I'm thinking, what day is that? October 25th? Okay, not the powwow. I can do that. So I put it in my phone and totally forget about it. Then it pops up, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I gotta go to this thing. So I go to Emery-Riddle and into the planetarium, and if you've never been there before, it's really cool. Because it's 360-degree dome, they'll fly you to another planet. It's just cool. And, I mean, the only space knowledge I have is Star Wars. That's really, and I was literally wearing an R2-D2 shirt, right? Because that's my knowledge of space. And I sit down in the middle of the audience there, I'm like, cool, nice middle seat, you see all the stuff. And I'm just sitting there grinning, waiting for the show to start. And one of these people comes, Mr. Lucero. Yeah. Oh, we have a seat for you right down here. And I said, no, I'm okay. And they're like, no, down here. So I get up and walk down, and they got a table set at a panel. And there's all these astrophysicists, Dr. So-and-so, and Dr. So-and-so, and Dr. Double Doctor, so-and-so, and so. I'm like, wow, these people are real nerds. Like, I'm a Star Wars nerd. They're real space nerds, like real scientists. I have a liberal arts degree in culture. I did not belong there. I was not one of those folks. They're way smarter than I am. But I'm sitting there with all these real science people, and they're talking about every one of these stars and planets and systems, and they get to GJ436. This is a red dwarf star, and the exoplanet is going around. The discovered is very close. As a matter of fact, the proximity to this planet is called the atmosphere to burn off, and it has a tail going around like a comet, but also the heat pressure, because of the gravitational pull due to the proximity of this planet to its host star, has caused the water on this planet to become hot ice. I said, Manuel, do you have any stories about hot ice? And I go, no. It doesn't exist here. Why would we have a story about hot ice? I said, unless you want to hear about when my wife puts icy hot water back and then makes me sleep on the couch because it stinks, I don't have a story for you. And, I said, come on. And they're like, no. And I'm looking at it, and it does. It's got this tail coming off it. I said, but then I get all Indian, it reminds me of the story of her once.
Sorry about the
So, I said, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago when the animals still chose to speak with us, during the Pleistocene, I started using every big $5 science word I knew. During the Pleistocene, the Ice Age, the flora and fauna were becoming less and less accessible to those who were hunting and gathering such things, And then that was the extent of it. That was lost my money and my $5 words. So I went back to storytelling mode. The flora and fauna were changing. You got to think about this in the Ice Age. The animals that were used to hunting were going away. The food they were used to gathering was going away. So the people were not doing well. It was not a good time for human beings. It was tough. So this one great hunter, we'll call him Kanati. To us, he is the first hunter. He's the proverbial Adam in our stories. Kanati is trying to talk to Tonkasho, to the Great Spirit. His grandfather, help us, we're starving. So sending these prayers, nothing's happening. It's getting worse and worse and worse. He's feeling like he's not getting close enough to God to send that voice. So he has to go as high up into the mountains, get to the mountaintops and send his voice so that God can hear him. And he goes up into Appalachia, the Smoky Mountains where our people were originally from, before Andrew Jackson. Way before Andrew Jackson. He goes up, and he's already malnourished, and the air becomes thinner. And he hits his knees and he's weeping. He just cannot go any further. And he's weeping, knowing he can't go back. He's got to deliver this prayer. And so he, I'm going way over my time, all right? He has Yona, the bear, come across. And Yona, the bear, says to him, "Two-legged, what are you doing up here? You don't belong here. You belong down in your village, watching after your children and digging up tubers. What are you doing up here?" So Kanati explains to Yona what's going on, and he's trying to deliver his prayer. And now the bear knows family. Every bear attack ever happened was a mother and their cubs. They know family. So they have it. And bear says, "I'll take that bear." Takes it up to the highest mountain, just to the mountaintop, the balls, where there's no more trees growing in pine stock. It's just granite rock and ice. And there's one peak with a dead, straggly tree growing out of it. The eagle's nest. So the bear makes his way that way, can't go any higher. And the eagle's nest is there, and Wahali from Cherokee means he flies the highest. So the story is where he gets his name. So Wahali looks down at Yona and says, "Yona, what are you doing up here? You don't belong up here. You're going down the tree line, chasing after rabbits and picking berries. Why higher in the world. Yonah explains to him that he's trying to deliver this prayer to the Creator on behalf of the two-leggers because they're starving and so on, the children are not doing well. Eagle looks down at his babies, the two eggs in the nest, and has them eat it. So give me the prayer, let's see what I can do. So he takes the prayer. And he flies as high as he can, higher and higher than he's ever gone before, past the clouds, and up to the Creator. He's on his way, but he can't quite make it. The closest he can get is to the sun. And he gets up to the sun asleep. And the sun says, Eagle, what are you doing up here? You belong here? You belong down soaring amongst the clouds and catching fish and snakes, fish in the lakes and the rivers. Why are you up here? Well, Holly, the eagle says, I'm trying to deliver this prayer on behalf of the two-leggers because they're starving and the children are hurting and they need this prayer to go to God so God can help them. He's filled it all. The son says, you know what? I talk to God every day. I'll deliver the prayer. But give me one of your feathers, your tail feathers. So eagle reaches back and he plucks out the tail feather and hands it to the sun. The sun takes it and kisses it on the end. That's why the eagle feather is black on the end and white. And he said, take this back to those two-leggers down there. They'll forever know they have a direct connection with the Great Spirit. And that's why we cherish these feathers more than anything. I would rather lose my own scalp than lose one of these. So this is my connection to God. And so I told that story, and the science people were like, this is great, let's record it. And we turned it in to the International Astronomical Union, who was judging all of these stories in Japan. Now, there were 91 countries that participated, over 200,000 participants, vying for 20 spots. There was only one chosen from the United States. It was mine. So today, GJ436, which is in the constellation Leo, GJ436 is now Loquisi, which is your word for star. And GJ436b, which is the planet that is really close and hot ice and all that, is now Awahalik, the eagle. The next planet they discovered in that system will be Yonah, the bear. The next one, Kanati, the hunter, and so on. So, yeah, that happened.
Obviously, they accept it.
Oh, yeah. So I called the tribe, hey, I did this thing, I named a star. They're like, so? I think they thought I went online, like, you name a star after late Uncle Frank or something. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. I was like, oh, I'll go cry. But that happened. But yeah, we did that right here at Prescott.